What I'd like to talk about a little bit about today is kind of emergence and where I see some of the technology and what we're going to be doing with it as a society. So the kind of brief history of Abdur, started at University of Missouri, or Maryland, went to IT, started teaching at Georgetown, and was ultimately kind of just impatient with myself, mostly in all the things I was working with on not seeing them implemented or used by other people. And so kind of the natural progression for an academic is to leave academia. And so I went to AOL, became the chief architect for search there, started a company called Surmise where we worked on three things: real-time search, summarization, and sentiment analysis, of which only one of them anyone cared about. We ended up merging with another company called Twitter because the only product we built that anyone seemed to care about was this thing called Twitter search. And right now I think it does about 2 billion queries a day, something like that. Since then, I was the chief scientist at Twitter, and I started the analytics group, user recommendation groups, trends groups, and a few others, and I've just kind of left last month to kind of focus on my next project, which was a elementary school focused on STEM education. Also called Alta Vista. Of my founders, I'm the only one who was horrified with the name, but I was voted. So kind of the world that we live in right now is this world of computing, and this has kind of been like the way we've measured our progress over the last few years is in MIPS, or millions of instructions per second. And about the fastest computer we have out there is around 150,000 MIPS. We have about 1.5 billion computers out there. And what we've found is we could solve all kinds of interesting computer science and problems for humanity. Finding stuff via Google, our phones, being connected, etc. And the way we've solve the complexity problems that we've been trying to get after is a single computer can only do so much, so we've connected them with networks. And any of you that worked in technology, you know that the faster you can talk to another computer, the more processing power you have because of this MIPS thing, and amount of memory you have available to you, and you can solve things faster. And so this is kind of the compute world that if you went to the computer science department here or anywhere else in the country, they would be talking about this types of problems. But if we're going to be talking about the future, really we've kind of seen where this trajectory goes. We've seen Moore's Law, we've seen all these other things. Yes, things are getting faster, things are getting better, but really where's the step function? Where's the thing where we dramatically change the way we're thinking about computing and ability to solve new and interesting problems? And what I'm going to argue today is that I believe that next evolution is going to be humans in the mix. If we were to sit back and think about humans as a computer in the same kind of like metrics that we were just looking at, well, we're not at 150,000, we're about 3 orders of magnitude, around 100 million MIPS per second. You think about all the neurons that are firing in your brain and what we can actually do, it's quite amazing. Now, what hasn't been there in the past is the ability for all these humans to be connected. Remember, computers by themselves were pretty powerful, they were getting more and more powerful, but it wasn't until we connected them that you really get the true power of all these machines. And so I believe that now that we have these phones and other ways to connect our bodies to this is where the real step function is going to occur from. The future. That's not to say that people haven't been going after hard CS problems and bringing people into this mix, and this isn't like new thoughts. Carnegie Mellon had something called the ESP game. I don't know, anyone familiar with that? A few people. It's awesome. It turns out that computers are really bad at object recognition or computer vision in general, but the ESP game allows to show an image to 2 different people. They can tag it. This is a picture of my daughter and a cat. And so you might put girl and cat. And if you can get people to actually agree on it, then they win the little game, and there's a leaderboard and people go after. Well, this is an awesome way of tying human beings into this process with machines to make these hard computer science problems easier. University of Washington has a project called Fold It. Anyone familiar with that? It's a way of going after the AIDS problem by bringing a game-like scenario for human beings to look at amino acids and fold them in various ways to produce various characteristics. Again, using human beings with compute power to solve really hard problems. Probably the best commercial example of this is called MTurk, or Mechanical Turk from Amazon. Everyone heard of that? Yeah, all the grad students that want to run experiments. Yes. It's pretty cool. You can go up there and pay people a penny or 2 pennies to do simple tasks as long as you can explain it and put it in the paradigm of Mechanical Turk. So why aren't we solving lots of great problems now that we have this huge body of compute power out there that can solve all these interesting things? And I think that there's a few different reasons. One is that there's always been a small number of human beings, the ESP game, MTurk. If you look at the number of human beings that are actually involved with any one of these, it's pretty small. The second thing is the hardware investment to actually get a computer. If we're thinking about 5 billion human beings with cell phones, 7 billion human beings on the planet, think about buying a $500 laptop for all those people. I mean, that's an economically difficult challenge. And we'd have to lower that price to get these people really involved. And lastly, I think the biggest reason that people aren't getting involved is that there's really no selfish outcome. There's no real benefit to them. Yes, there's a small tangible one from a game. There's a small tangible one for making a little bit of money. But ultimately, there's no selfish all of a sudden my food supply got better, poverty went away, hunger went away, war and famine and all these other problems went away. There's no real desire for people to become involved with these things. And so I really think that the reason people are now going to be tied into these networks is the human being has fundamentally changed. How many in the audience have a cell phone right now? Okay. How many don't? It's one dude. Left it at home? He's off the grid, sorry. Never mind. So more and more of us are connected to all this information abilities. And the second thing is people are now have new abilities with these phones. We can text, we can take videos, pictures. The phone has become the sensor of our lives. There's GPS, accelerometers, and more sensors added to these phones every day that now can actually implicitly come into these networks to solve new and interesting problems. And so I like to think about the cyborg of the future is here, and it's just a little more human than we thought. Check this out. This is an iPad. I can hold a laser pointer. Yes. So the cyborg of the future turns out to be our mom, and she can take pictures, access the internet, and do all kinds of interesting stuff. So really, what are we going to be doing with all this kind of social computing? And I think that there's going to be 3 phases. The first 2 are occurring now, and the third is where I see the future actually occurring. First one is we all become sensors. You see it with Twitter, you see it with all kinds of other things. With this phone, we become a sensor of taking pictures, essentially summarizing our life in a picture, or sending out a quick text and telling others what's going on. Phase 2 is awareness. This kind of sharing of information in a free and open way is going to allow us to become more and more aware of the world in which we live and what's important, which is the only way that what I call emergence will occur. And that's our compassion to work on large problems with other people in a collaborative way. So at Twitter, we built a product called Trends. Trends monitors the world's tweets and pulls out the people, places, and things, and then tries to find the most interesting or unexpected one and show them to other people. 3 years ago, I was traveling back to DC, and I woke up on Thanksgiving morning, and I was checking out the trends to make sure that they were working okay. And instead of seeing stuff about Thanksgiving or turkey or full or football, I saw Mumbai. And what all of a sudden I realized was there was something really important going on in Mumbai, and I should pay attention. And of course, there was the bombing occurring. But over the years, like this same like pattern keeps emerging because we're all sensors. A few years ago, a guy's taking a ferry ride across the Hudson, and all of a sudden a plane lands in the river next to him. Like, he was the sensor. He became the sensor. He took a picture, sent it out. All of a sudden, the world's news agencies and all the people become aware of it. The Bay Bridge in San Francisco, one day when I was talking to Ev, one of the founders of Twitter, I was just like, I don't know if we should do this local trends. We pulled it up, and all of a sudden we could see Bay Bridge. We clicked on it, and this is the picture we saw right here of cables. Cables actually falling and people getting stuck on the bridge. Now, it hasn't been always about late-breaking news. There's a project out of Microsoft called Photosynth. Is anyone familiar with that? It's really amazing. So everyone takes a picture of it at an event, and they stitch all the photos to build a 3D model and virtual worlds you can travel through. It's really amazing. Here's a picture of like the Obama inauguration. Other examples are, Google's Maps. Everyone who pulls out their phone all of a sudden becomes a sensor because the GPS data is sent back, and they can detect where traffic is either slow or fast or going as expected. And so I believe that this first phase of all of us becoming sensors of the world that we care about is occurring right now and as we speak. The next phase, awareness. So how do we really think about the world? How do we like share what's important? How do we know what's going on? Earlier this year, there was an earthquake besides Japan at about 9.0 that started one of the largest tsunamis that humans have ever seen. And what we're going to watch now is how that information of the event spread through the planet. Let's start here. Hold on. Whoop. Can you guys see that? In pink, what we're watching is tweets coming out of Japan. And in green, it's people sharing that information. And this is no longer the CNN of, hey, an earthquake occurred or a tsunami occurred. This is, I'm okay, or my house just, blew away, or many other things. And so what we watched was how information was disseminated in just 1 hour over the entire planet. And it was no longer just CNN starting the news, but all the people on the ground and how that information disseminated through the planet. In fact, if you look at it, you can kind of see an outline of all the continents, except for Africa. And I kind of like think of it as power, like where is power on the planet? And you can kind of just see it. Siberia, not a lot of power up there, not a lot of people. But it's pretty impressive. The next way I think that we're going to become more aware, and hopefully you can see it from this, is it's no longer about just sharing what happened, but it's about reaching out to others when they need help and when things are going on. And what we're going to watch is a few minutes before the tsunami occurred and a few minutes after, and their personal messages in and out of the country and where they originated. So in yellow, messages coming out. In pink, can you guys see it in the back? Messages coming in, tsunami hits, and it's just a flood of messages coming in and out. And the main reason is that this awareness, this global awareness of what's going on is so instantaneous, that the natural next progression of humans is to reach out to the friends and family or coworkers or anyone they know and say, are you okay? What's going on? How can we help? And so I'm going to leave you with this emergence because this awareness, this sensors, and this is only going to stir one thing in my mind, and that's compassion of others on the planet and understanding what their problems are and what way we can harness ourselves and emerge and self-organize to solve problems of importance. And so my question and challenge really to everyone in this audience that's going to be really working on the future is how do we actually use this technology to bring people together in ways that can facilitate solving real problems? Not just, oh my goodness, how do I get a pizza fast? But really, how do we actually solve problems like poverty and injustices of the world?
Thank you.